Hi, Joy Olson here, Blockbuster Fundraising. I love studying trends, and so recently Bloomberg looked over the Fundraising Effectiveness Project report that summarized the fourth quarter of 2018, and they really had some insights that I want to share with you today, because they say that this fourth quarter really puts the full year of 2018 into perspective and definitely sheds insight into what 2019 is going to probably bring for our fundraising profession. I'm sure you're aware of the Fundraising Effectiveness Project report, the FEP, and it continues to be the most reliable source of true fundraising data, and that stems from its unique perspective of combining data from multiple highly respected and large-scale nonprofit database vendors. So those key contributors are listed at the bottom of the FEP report, which you can go online and find. All right. Now, the fourth quarter report confirmed numerous trends that Bloomberg says that they have seen in the previous quarters of 2018, and literally ratifies several of the must-knows items being, and here we're going to go over them right now. These are what you must know. The overall fundraising revenue was up 1.6%, but only due to larger donors. This key takeaway must be mentioned first because it runs the risk of hiding numerous alarming trends for all organizations not moving to or already engaging in major gift fundraising. So Bloomberg asks, why not just celebrate the slight increase in overall giving? It's simple, they answer. All donor retention rates, as well as giving from small and mid-level donors, they're all down, with several of them moving downward significantly. So Bloomberg highlights most of these in these next 4 takeaways. You ready? And tied to the takeaways are 3 key groupings and results. Here we go. 1. Donors under $250 are down 4.4% year over year. Now, this is the group that is relied upon heavily by small to mid-sized charities. 2. Mid-level donors, they qualify them from $250 to $999, are down 4% year over year. Now, this group is the mainstay for many charities and even comprises major gifts for many small charities. 3. Major donors, $1,000 and up, are up 2.6% year over year. Now, this group, which provides nearly 88% of all dollars raised, literally salvaged the year over year totals. This first takeaway is truly a wake-up call. Every charity, large or small, must begin developing or enhancing their major gift program or risk funding their mission at lower levels in future years. Key takeaway. Now, let's talk about overall donor retention. Overall donor retention fell 6.3% year over year to 44.5%. Now, Bloomberg says this is quite a year over year change and should be cause for alarm rather than just creating additional donor acquisition strategies, which is often the answer offered up by fundraising departments. Perhaps a focus on donor retention is the answer. Falling donor retention cannot be outraced by larger acquisition efforts, except in extremely rare and somewhat special situations. Fundraising professionals, and just as importantly, their boards, must truly begin to fully understand lifetime value principles and start refining donor retention strategies. A properly outlined and implemented donor retention plan can literally change the mission funding for any charity relying heavily upon philanthropy for the lion's share of their revenue for decades into the future. Take away. How about new donor retention? Well, new donor retention fell 4.2% to 20.2%. Yes, that means 8 out of every 10 donors leave in just a single year. Unless any donor acquisition strategy can replace nearly 80% of those first-time donors, you are losing ground every single year going forward. On a positive note, thank goodness, implementing retention strategies for first-time donors can be relatively easy and make great strides in improving this metric. One of the reasons for the ease is the fact that so many other charities are doing such a poor job in this area. So you can differentiate and delight your donors with moderate effort. Just think what impact a single thank you phone call, handwritten note, or quick personal video can make. Let's talk about repeat donor retention, because you really count on those repeat donors. Well, repeat donor retention fell 2% to 61%. Even the steady, hardly ever changing repeat donor rate dropped in 2018. Bloomberg says, please note, however, just how much better the repeat donor retention rate is than the new donor retention rate. Repeat donors renew at more than 3 times the rate of new donors. So this is why obtaining the second gift is not just important, but it is actually critical to your fundraising success in the future. And they give a link in their Bloomberg blog to a few strategies to assist you in obtaining that second gift. So look for this blog online. Now, let's talk about recapture rate, because we're always budgeting and looking at our lapsed donors. The recapture rate reached an all-time low of just 4%. Wow, I think that's shocking. So, if you thought a way around establishing high donor retention rates might be creating and implementing some exciting lapsed donor strategy, think again. Even if you find a magical way to double the sector average of donor recapture to a lofty 8%, you are still losing 72% of your new donors every year. Please keep in mind the overall cost to retain both new and existing donors is far more economical than the costs associated with trying to recapture them after a year or two. Recapture costs are often nearly the same as the high costs of acquiring donors. So, in summary, Bloomberg says, we hope you agree that the 5 takeaways that we listed above carry immense impact for your future fundraising outcomes. Each of them builds upon the others in presenting a compelling case for understanding donor lifetime value, as well as the strategies to elevate that value. So now that was from Bloomberg. And they are, I love Bloomberg, and they are instrumental in making the FEP project and its insightful reporting come to life. So bless them. It's wonderful that we can see these trends and know where we really need to increase our efforts. So now you're probably beginning to wonder, well, are there solutions within our reach? Because after reading that blog, then I see a blog from the agitator and the donor voice, and they used this data to try to predict trends, and they did this using several different scenarios with this FEP data. Listen to this. You'll really want some solutions. They say scenario number 1 is that things stay the same as they are in 2018. They ask, what if acquisition, retention, and reactivation rates freeze right now at the 2018 level for the next decade? And they are sad to say that we are not acquiring and retaining donors at replenishment levels. So the agitator and donor voice say that in their predictions in scenario number 1, if things stay the same, is that in the next 3 years, we'd lose 8% of our donor files. And over the next decade, we'd lose 22%. And guess what? This is going to shock you. There's ample precedent for this scenario because, in fact, historically, according to Blackbaud and Donor-Centric Index, the number of donors on file at the average nonprofit fell steadily from 2005 to 2015, resulting, get this, in 25% fewer donors after that decade. I bet you didn't know that. I didn't. So we have been buoyed by the increase in giving among the wealthy, and the agitator and donor voice say this can't, won't, and mustn't last, this new trend. To lose a quarter of our files on average that we've already had from 2005 to 15, then to lose another almost quarter of our files over the next decade would be a downward spiral from which it would be difficult to recover. But as if things couldn't get worse. The news does get worse with their scenario number 2. In scenario number 2, they ask, what if acquisition and retention and reactivation didn't freeze? What if acquisition continues to drop 7.3% like in 2017 to 2018? And new donor retention dropped 4.8% annually, which is the last 4-year average. And repeat retention inched down 0.8% per year. They mention it, by the way, that it's not just the FEP report that catalogs these trends. Epsilon just released their 2018 nonprofit report, giving trend report, and it shows donors dropping by 8%. So, getting back to the agitator and donor voice scenario, in scenario number 2, instead of losing 22% of our donors in a decade, we'd lose them by 2021. It's kind of breathtaking, isn't it? And over the next decade, we'd shed 57% of an average donor file. Wow! So they mention at this point, they say we could see venerable organizations going the way of Sears, Radio Shack, Borders. Wow! Among our nonprofit peeps. So, this is a worrisome scenario. These could be uncharted waters. But then they add scenario number 3, a new path. And the agitator and donor voice say that they may be cheating here because hope is not a strategy, nor is it a scenario, but it's what they have. It's hope that we turn around a documented trend that is now over a decade old and threatens us in the decades to come. And they say to chart a different path, to reverse this trend, we must do 2 things. 1, accept the problem, and 2, decide that what we do is worth fighting for. And they say it's time to launch a donor sustainable movement. So, in essence, the question here, are there solutions within our reach? Well, frankly, after reading both these blogs and thinking about the trends and agitating with the agitator, because it is worrisome, I think the answer just has to be, the solution just has to be, it has to be retention and major gifts. Well, we've just finished a lot of work in the major gift area. So right now, today, I'm reviewing in my own mind retention fundraising. And Roger Craver, who I think is still the author's, the Agitator blog, he wrote really one of my favorite fundraising books that has that exact title, Retention Fundraising, The New Art and Science of Keeping Your Donors for Life. And I think it's really a great starting point to think about solutions that are within our reach right now. Because this book is a great book. It came out in 2015. It was based on a 3-year study of donor retention and commitment among over 250 nonprofits in both the United States and the United Kingdom. It's really well documented information by someone who really understands fundraising. And I thought that I'd talk a little bit about solutions within our reach that are in this book. In this final chapter of this book, Retention Fundraising, I think you should get it. You'll see it up there on the screen. Roger Craver has his cliff notes for retention. And he says this is a list of quick, easy, and inexpensive steps that can be implemented immediately to improve your retention. And he says it really represents an effort to spotlight actions that are likely to matter most and produce the quickest improvement. And here goes. Here's a quick list. 1. Measure the vital signs before you do anything else. Take a few minutes to calculate your organization's first-year and multi-year retention rates and the lifetime value of your donors. Know that. Secondly, focus first on basics, especially your organization's mindset regarding your donors. In essence, Roger says, if you want to improve retention, all you need are good manners, an understanding of human nature, and a true sense of appreciation for the donor. And that secret is genuinely appreciating that supporters are those rare people who actually make our world a better place. We work for them, and everything we do reflects that understanding. Thirdly, a solution that you can do immediately. Say thank you quickly and personally. If you want a higher retention rate, saying thank you is a prime starting point for signaling to donors you matter to our organization. Your gift counts and makes a difference. Did you know that 13% of donors who defect attribute their reason for leaving the organization, the nonprofit organization, to the fact that they were never thanked? And if you need a good thank you clinic, Roger Craver refers to his book, to Lisa Sargent's Thank You Letter Clinic. It's in Sophie, I'm sure SOFII.org on the internet. Go look for it. And Lisa suggests that you ask yourself about your gift acknowledgement program right now. Ask yourself, how soon after a gift is received do we send a thank you letter? Ask yourself, do we know the amount of the donation? Thirdly, ask for gift memberships. Do we send notices to both the giver and the receiver? 4. Do we recognize long-term and repeat donors? If not, is our system capable of this? And fifthly, what kind of donor feedback have we received on our thank yous? It's not enough that thank yous are in a form letter are sent in a timely fashion. The quality of your thank you messages matter. They must convey genuine appreciation and also show the impact of the gift, assuring your donors that their gifts are making a difference. In short, a generic, computer-generated thank you letter, even if mailed the next day after the gift is received, is inadequate. Personalize Let them know they're making a difference. Pick up the phone. Target Analytics and say they conducted a research study, and it was a large test to confirm what picking up the phone can really do for you. You pick up that phone and call your donors. Number one, their research showed them that simply calling and thanking new donors resulted in approximately 40% more revenue in the following year. Number two, picking up the phone, even leaving a thank you message, increased giving, but less than the 40% increase from those who were directly reached. But they know their research has showed them that it's worth calling back at least once more before leaving a voicemail. So keep trying to get through. A proper thank you sets the stage for what many consider to be the critical factor in predicting long-term retention. And the sooner that you ask for the second gift from the new donor, the better off you are. Listen, this is the important message here. Put more money into your retention programming. Do it today. Do it in your budget year, right now. Talk about it. Roger Craver says that it's always struck him as strange that we budget tens of thousands of dollars on our acquisition mailings while completely ignoring any allocation of funds for retention. So he poses this question: if an organization is willing to invest $50 to acquire a $25 donor, why wouldn't it budget at least an additional $5 or $6 to make certain that the new donor is properly thanked and welcomed with his or her name spelled properly? Why not spend the money to phone and thank your first year donors, thus assuring 40% more income from them next year? Investing in retention is so important that as a matter of practicality, Craver recommends that the cost for properly placing new donors on the right road to solid retention be built into the acquisition costs at the outset. Another thing you can do right now to help your retention, a solution to all these donors that are getting away: start discriminating. All donors are not equal, at least when it comes to building retention and lifetime value. So the sooner that you identify your best donors and where they come from, the sooner you'll be on the road to higher retention and increased lifetime value. That's because you'll be able to invest more time and money in the donors who have demonstrated their loyalty and commitment, and less in those who haven't. So identifying and engaging the best current donors is important. You can look at their length of time as an active donor. You can look at their size of gifts, including whether the gifts have been trending upward. And you can look at the donor's involvement or engagement. And donors who both have given and volunteer are generally more committed than those that just volunteer. So the spotting, you can spot signs that they care. You look for those. Some of the additional signals that might be helpful in identifying your better donors: if your donor has taken the time to complain, bet that surprises you; if a donor has reached out to change their address; if a donor has gone to the effort of having their gift matched by their employer; or if the donor has attended a conference call or an actual meeting. Good signs. Take note. Call them. Thank them. Get more involved. Build a relationship. Now, here are some signs that donors may soon leave you. They downgrade their giving levels. They unsubscribe from your various email and e-newsletter list. They stop at their recurring gift, their monthly sustainer gift. They leave negative comments on social media, and they cancel their event registrations. So once you know and detect who's most likely to defect, you can decide what steps to take to hold on to these donors or whether the time and money are perhaps better spent on bonding with your most committed donors. That's an important consideration for sure. And Craver reminds us that instead of continually searching for some magic solution, we constantly need to remind ourselves that we're here in service to the donor, the driving engine of good works. That is our donor. So retention, I think that's a solution. Solutions here that you can consider and that will help your retention rate, hopefully help your 2019 be a spectacular one. Thanks for having been here today. Joy Olson at Blockbuster Fundraising, saying a lot more information on what we do at joyolsongroup.com, blockbusterfundraising.com. It's our vlogging site. We have hundreds of free video fundraising tips on our Blockbuster Fundraising YouTube channel. We're having lots of fun on our IGTV Instagram channel, and thank you for all your comments. We hope that you reach out to us with any ideas and comments. I think I just said that. Thank you. Joy Olson here saying bye-bye and hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.